Previously on Game Time with Kyle.
This case today, so I'll do one player. There's the various color uniracers, like red, blue, green, all. I'd start taking a look at Zen Pinball versus the Pinball Arcade, those two fun little pinball games you can get. But, yeah, so let's grab the controller for the 360 because it's game. I did Twilight Sparkle. You're a good Twilight Sparkle. I enjoy that one too, but 3 is my favorite of the series. Spot goes to Hollywood. For anyone who's played the Cool Spot game, this is kind of a sequel to that.
Hey gamers, YouTubers, everybody, what's happening? My name's Kyle, right, with another episode of Game Time. Oh man, I've been waiting to do this video pretty much since the very beginning. I've been wanting to do this one, but I thought I'd wait until I get to a little bit of a little established with some subscribers and a few videos under my belt. And now that we've done about 70 plus, I thought that was the time to do this. This is one that I've been pretty excited for, and I've even in the last 5 videos I've hinted at this retrospective. I put some hidden Spot merchandise and Spot stuff in the last 5 videos, starting with I think it was the Uniracers SNES Hidden Gems. So you can definitely check out my channel. Probably the last 5 or 6 videos there's hidden Spot stuff in there, and it all kind of was hinting at this big retrospective that I would like to do. Here's just a little bit of my Spot game collection. There's probably 2 that I don't have. I had all the games themselves, but for an example, Spot Goes to Hollywood here is also on the Sega Saturn, which at the timing of this video here, I don't have in the collection. And I think Cool Spot, of course, one I think a lot of people recognize and loved by many, is also for the Sega Game Gear. And I do not have that. Actually, I don't have a Game Gear at the time of this video either. So I think those are the only 2 I don't have. Otherwise, here's the whole set here. A couple figures here as well, but I have a few more of those, but we'll show them off in another video. This is concentrating on the games mostly. So you can see a lot of platforms here Spot has appeared on, and we're going to see a little bit of each game in action. I kind of thought I'd share here because we actually won't see this one, but this is kind of a complete in box PC game of Spot, and you know, look at this. Thought I'd show this off here. Floppy disks. Who doesn't like that? Here's Flight Simulator, all that. So I've got a couple ones. Where's the Spot one? Here it is. Disc 1 and Disc 2. Man, any old school PC games remember these? Good old floppy disks. So those are pretty neat and kind of came with a few other games here. Instruction booklet for the PC. That's pretty cool. Spotlight on Spot. That's kind of fun. So yeah, we won't see that one, but this was also ported to the NES, which I do have. Not, unfortunately, not complete in box. I have the box, which is really beaten up. I do have the game in here, the cartridge, I should say, but no instruction manual. And it also appeared on the original Game Boy. There it is, Spot. And after that, we saw a game that was only on Game Boy. This actually came out, I want to say it was before the Cool Spot games. This is Spot, the Cool Adventure. Really a Game Boy hidden gem here. Definitely take a look at a stage in this game. Then, of course, the game I think most of us are familiar with, Cool Spot. Definitely just a fun game all around. Great platformer. Has absolutely great music in. There's the SNES version. Here's the Genesis version, which is complete. Got the instruction manual and game. It also appeared on the Game Boy, and like I said, Game Gear as well. Here's the Game Boy. Here, actually complete as well. I have the box and instruction manual for that, so that's pretty fun to have. And lastly, Spot Goes to Hollywood, and this is kind of where it gets interesting because the Sega Genesis version of Spot Goes to Hollywood, great game in its own right, is very different from the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn version of Spot Goes to Hollywood. And I'll show that here a little bit later in the video. You can kind of compare the two games. But they're similar yet very different stage design and whatnot, obviously, because Genesis is not quite as up to par with the PS1 and Saturn versions. So, yeah, let's take a look at some of these games in action. Really excited to show these to you guys here in the retrospective of the Cool Spot series. Oh man, it's been a while since I heard that. Here's kind of a fun little game here. You can basically select computer opponents. You can put more than one player in. We can, let's just begin the game here. I'll kind of show you how it plays. You select your little spot, select where you want them to go. It's basically the board game Othello, and here's the computer player who's blue. I am yellow here. Some fun animations. And once they get close enough, you can take their pieces. This character will take mine, of course. But yes, as you can see, very much like Othello and whatnot. It's kind of a fun game here, and you can of course put 4 players in. So, always love the animations. Definitely a fun little type board game type game. Alright, now as you can see, to win the game you have to have more colors of your color and then the opponent's. And when you win, you get a nice standing ovation from a stadium full of people. Actually, they may not even be people. They look like just a bunch of spots in a stadium. That's pretty fun. But yeah, and you can even edit your own board. You can kind of take pieces away. Some pre-designed boards. So lots of gameplay here. I really enjoy this game. And of course, here's the original Game Boy option for that too. You can kind of timers and whatnot. Only one looks like one computer opponent though. You can see it's basically the same thing. No funky music though in the background. Well, there is, but not as good. And the animations aren't there, so this is a lot more like classic Othello. But still, kind of fun to have this on the original Game Boy as well. Speaking of original Game Boy, here's Spot, the Cool Adventure. This is one that I think not a lot of people have heard of. There's the copyright, 1992 right there. So, you can see we got our little spot. You can jump, and you can't throw spots this time around. I'll show you how the game plays out. You got a little bit of an overworld. You can do the stages in order, of course. Basically, you jump, you pick up a block, and you chuck it at enemies. All the while you're trying to collect the various spots here. It's a little primitive, yes, but keep in mind, 1992 here, so. We'll grab a block. Also, has a fun little boss battle at the very end. You kind of fight. I got an extra heart here, a little extra health. You kind of take on a giant, oversized clown in a circus tent. Kind of a strange boss battle for a 7-Up mascot type character, but it's kind of fun. So let's jump up here. we finished on the top, so that means we get some bonus points. And on to the next stage. I believe there's about 10 or a dozen stages in the entire game. So, definitely a fun little platform. I always enjoy platformers. It's something that I grew up a lot playing. You can duck here, of course. And once per stage, this is kind of interesting, once per stage, you hit the select button and you can jump up really, really high like I just did. But I'm hitting select again and I can't do that. So it's only a once per stage type thing, I guess, to get out of a sticky situation. So there we go. There's Spot, the Cool Adventure for Game Boy. Here's one that we love so much, 1993, so the Game Boy version did come out before that. This is Cool Spot. This is the Super NES version. Which I think always kind of looks and sounds a little nicer than the Sega Genesis version. Definitely runs a lot smoother, and I like to control the SNES controls a lot better, of course, too. But you can see great animation. I'm going to shut up just for a couple of seconds so you can hear the great music. Fun sound effects. This is one that we kind of get from point A to point B, but we got to collect so many spots in each stage. Usually, I think we're probably playing on medium difficulty, so it's going to be about 60 or 70 spots you have to collect. I think there's about 100 in every stage. Definitely a difficult game, though. It's just a lot of things that will hit you. Luckily, we can have some refreshing 7-Up to regain our health. And of course, the object of each stage, like I said, getting from point A to point B, is you gotta find your fellow Spot buddies and free them from the cage. A little bit of a celebration. Do good in the time and coolness factor, and maybe get a 1-up. This is really great too, because I know this stage, something this game does, you repeat the same stages a little bit later on. Like this, you'll see this game, or this stage, come up again a little bit later in the game. But on the Super NES version here, it's actually in the evening. You actually see sort of a sunset background. The background's all orange and looks really cool. Whereas on the Sega Genesis version, it's just normal looking colors like this again. They don't have the sunset background later in the stage. I always found that kind of interesting. One interesting thing the Sega does have, Sega's a little bit louder, the sound's not quite as good, but they have something interesting in the options here. You can kind of adjust the difficulties and whatnot. They actually have a sound test in the options. This is the Sega Genesis version. Whoop. You can kind of do a little bit of a sound test. All the sound effects and music in the game. That's kind of interesting there. You can see the Sega version, it looks a little bit rough versus the Super NES version, but you know, it is what it is. It's still a fine game. You know, for an example, we'll do the same stage there. This is the Sega Genesis version. Laid out just a little bit differently too. Like I said, I kind of prefer it on the Super Nintendo. It's a little bit more colorful and definitely sounds a little bit better. So we'll go down here just a little bit. Screen's a little bit more shaky too, like I'm barely moving my character and the screen's kind of jumping all over the place. So yeah, if there is a better version, I do think it's the Super Nintendo version, but the Sega is pretty cool in that it kind of gives us the options to listen to the soundtrack and the sound effects and whatnot. So that's the Sega Genesis version. And never fear, Game Boy fans, it did also appear on the original Game Boy as well. A little bit slower, a little bit more clunky. Still some good sound effects still, and kind of good music on the original Game Boy, you have to admit. Sort of a very scaled down version of the theme. A little harder to control here though. A little difficult to see the enemies. Yeah, definitely probably is the harder of the three versions, but fun to play some cool Spot on the go. I'm assuming the Game Gear version plays a lot more like the Sega Genesis version, so it's still kind of fun here on the Game Boy as well. Kind of a fun game. If you can find it on the Game Boy, definitely is worth a grab, I think.